I summarized Bitcoin price action in the three main ways that it can move and most likely will move over the next 14 to 20 days. I made a 2-minute video on that. If you want the super summarized version, then you're going to go to my channel and watch that, or you can wait till the end. I'll link it to you. In this video, I am going to go over more detailed what each line is, and from a formatting your brain on the time axis, go into a little bit more detail there above and beyond the super quick Bitcoin analysis video. There are still three main ways that Bitcoin can move. It is not better to just guess one and pound your chest as it happens to go, or just delete tweets if it doesn't go that way. That's not what you should be doing in this market environment. Right now, looking behind us, we have, get rid of myself. Here we go. We have between green and orange a middle zone with which price can interact with major lines, green and orange, but it might just go sideways for 14 days. And here, right about here, is December 1st. The monthly candle happens. I'm expecting some type of backfill after this December 1st, right? And it could last about 5 to 9 days. You can either go sideways. You can either, around before December 1st, come up and touch it, come back to the middle, and then scream up for the monthly backfill that's after this line. So before this line is hit, December 1st, go sideways, touch the line, come back, or touch this line, then come back. Those are the three main ways that we're going to go over. Now I'm going to describe to you everything so you can put it on your chart just like mine. And if you don't want to do all that, but you do want the lines, and you want to watch it on my chart, I stream my chart live with the exact levels, and I even have fancy little animated candles that show you the three most likely ways that Bitcoin price would move over about a 24-hour period. So if you want access to that, so you can let me do the TA for you, and you can just watch it on YouTube instead of Tradingview, then that is also available to the Cryptillion YouTube tier and all Discord members. So let's get into this Bitcoin. Here we go. All right, my green screen is there. Hey, Mildy Average, I will get to your super chat in just a second. I'm going to do some Bitcoin stuff. Okay, I have more, I guess, realistic drawings right here about how price is going to move. This is the time to help out your content creator and hit the like button. And if you're new, subscribe and hit the bell for all alerts, because I'm going to walk you step by step through price action so you can stay in control. We have vertical lines. Right now, because of this monthly close, and Bitcoin has already confirmed fallen off a cliff. Just a question of, does it continue in November or does it backfill after December? And backfill just means on the monthly candle, like let's go to Bitcoin on the monthly. So for anybody, that's not clear on what I mean by a backfill. Right here. So at the 64K top, as it accelerated, right, it still went up for 9 days. And all you can see is this wick right there. And that is a backfill. It just goes up into the previous candle, right? That was a big backfill relative to the candle body size, but it went up for 9 days. So let me go to like the 4-hour chart and go back there. Here's May 1st, exactly on the bell. Boom, boom, 11 days before it went down. So that's what the backfill looked like. It started the month by correcting, higher local high, big correction. Completed an inverse W, I guess. Fake out twice, and then dumped. But all that backfill, even though it wasn't super bullish, it still went up. It went higher over 9 days. It went higher multiple times over 9 days. Look, the exact month, higher once, higher twice, higher 3 times over a period of 12 days. And that's what I mean by the backfill of the week, or of the month. I apologize. Okay, so let's go back here. So that's why I'm really concentrating on these vertical lines. Weird stuff is going to happen around this date, which is Wednesday, tomorrow, at the time of this recording, the 23rd of November, 2022. It's at 2 p.m. New York time. This is the monthly candle closure exactly at midnight, you know, on late November, early December. If you, and no matter what you're thinking, you need to realize if price accelerates up this time, then before this line is hit here, it's likely going to pull back because the oscillations of, I guess, you know, of Bitcoin over this period has been about like this. And I would use the 4-hour chart because the 4-hour chart usually gets you oscillations about this big, right? So the 4-hour time frame is going to be key because of the separation of the last 2 major instances that whales can do their whale games. So some of their next 2 chances. So the 4-hour chart is going to get the right length of oscillations. Am I making sense so far? So if you're going to use, you know, if you're a big fan of micro time frames, you might want to keep your eye on basic 4-hour oscillators like stochastic RSI or stochastic itself. The exact cross down, the moment these 2 cross, might not be the best signal, but once, for example, the 4-hour is hanging down this low, and then from this point to this point, the 1-hour RSI had gone from up to down, back up again, and is getting ready to curl down, and it all happened on the 4-hour from here to here, but the 1-hour went like this during that time. Exactly. So once the 4-hour is hanging down this low, and then the 1-hour then crosses on the same indicator, whether it's stochastic RSI or RSI, once the 1-hour then floods in the same direction as the 4-hour, that could get a big ass move instead of the very first cross of the 4-hour. But I'm telling you, I really think that the 4-hour time frame is going to be where, I guess, oscillators and just it's going to be kind of your cheat code if I had to make a guess. All right. Keep that in mind. So we're formatting our brain to time first. I'm really trying to stress this over the last couple days. Even though you can't time the market, but still, these events and the price movements and the weirdness, it's all based off time. Now, also kind of formatting our brain here, formatting the viewers and my own brain to what I'm saying, visualize 14 days up here. Okay? And so these price paths that I offered about 14 days before they all kind of tanked down, besides this guy. Shouldn't be. Boom. All right? And these represent the idea that between white line 1 and white line 2, either price is going to hit the orange line, or it's going to hit the middle line, or it's going to stay in the middle like the yellow price path. Does that make sense? These are more realistic price paths. Either it will hit the yellow line before this happens, or it'll hit the orange line before this date, or it'll ride down the frickin' middle in a very boring fashion and likely have one more spike up into the weekly 10, something to this effect as it's coming down, and it never hits the origin line. Something to that effect. So those are 3 price paths that really could happen. And if you want to draw those, do it. Because those are damn good guesses. Now, I said at the very beginning, there's no friggin' reason to guess which one's going to happen. And let me show you why. And pay attention to what I'm saying to you. You shouldn't guess right now. Just don't guess. Because, look. Oops. Okay, so this price path, we only have how many major lines that are in play right now that are going to affect price? 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm not counting the time axis. We have 4. So in order to get to this one, what do you need to do first? You need to get over this one. So since price is not over here, I'm keeping this one in mind, but it's not on my radar right now. I don't need to guess that. Because once price gets up, so let's go to like the 5-minute chart, really zoom in on this 𝐓𝐰𝐤𝐝. So you're gonna see just as obvious, like it should be this obvious. Look how obvious this is. The price crashes down in that super important orange line. It goes back to the 64K top. Then it fails it more, comes up, gets rejected by it multiple times. Isn't this obvious? Look how obvious this is. When it came down to it the first time, it did not use it as resistance on the way back up, kept higher lows. Wasn't obvious it's going to go that high, but it was obvious it was at least going to test this neckline as the way it came back up into it. So let's dive here. Let's look at the difference. So it's not a death sentence to pass a support. It's what the candles do on the very micro time frames when it comes back up. So because it did not use this line as resistance for even one single candle, I would have known that it's extremely statistically likely that the next 5-minute oscillation down will get a higher low. And it did. It kept higher lows and blasted up, much higher than what anybody would have guessed, unless you're the market maker who hit market buy on that. And then here, what did it do? On the 5-minute candles, also did not use it as resistance on the way back up. Here, it lost it a second time and then did use it as resistance. So it was completely obvious that it was going to go down. So I'm saying the same thing. This is why you don't need to guess. It's going to be obvious. I'm telling you. It's going to be obvious. But what I also want to tell you is I would make myself big to get your attention more, but my camera's not working. And I don't want this green shit waving all over the damn screen. So, but listen to me. How about when I crinkle the can? That means freaking listen or go, hey, like, let's see here. Hey! Yeah, that noise. That means I'm big. You don't need to guess because when it gets above this line, it's going to be obvious that now this might be my favorite fractal. Come up here. But until it's obvious, I just need to bookmark that as, okay, one of the top 3 probabilities. But I don't need to play this yet. Why would I guess it if it's going to be obvious? Am I making sense? Similar to when I begged people about Solana, it was $150 or whatever. You know, don't bet against the statistics. Why would you do that? If you want to buy Solana, wait till it's under $30. No matter what, it's going to 12 to 22. 12 to 22, doesn't matter how high it goes first. This is where it's going. All that stuff, right? Like what, why would you fight against statistics or why would you bet against statistics? So, the same type of question. Why would you want to guess if it's going to be obvious? Who cares? Who cares about guessing? Okay. So I want to get you, let me make myself big. I want to get you in, I want to really concentrate today because I'm going to take a break the rest of this week, right? I need you to format your brain to the time, but also I want you to stop guessing until we see you next on, for next Tuesday, because I'm not going to be on Thursday. And to get you through that, week, a week without Cosas, that's how you're going to stay safe. I promise you. Okay. And also potentially, watching my live chart or building this chart for your own and making it identical. All right. So there's one price path. Let me go to like the 2-hour. I think the 2-hour chart might be where I want to go. Yeah. So for a 14-day time frame, that is still up here, right? 14 days. We're really focused on this December candle closing because there's going to be a backfill. But what does it do before then? That's one. Here's the more bearish one right there. So this is the one where before December 1st, it will hit the orange line and not this one, even though the origin line is orange, but it hits the bottom one closer to 14.3. And then comes back to the middle and does its monthly backfill, or stays in the middle. and does nothing sexy until after the monthly candle closes. Then it races up to backfill and satisfies trying to touch the weekly 10 before going down. And if you don't think touching the weekly 10 before going down is a real thing, let's zoom out. What did it do? So it went down, but before it went down more, what did it do? Touched the red line, went sideways forever. What did it do? Interact with the weekly 10 and then went down. So you think if we zoomed into here that it would be obvious when it lost it? Like it obviously accelerated once the buyer stopped defending it, right? Do you think it would be obvious? Sometimes it isn't, but let's try it. Look at the 15-minute chart. Is that obvious? It's kind of hard to play because it went down pretty far. But still, once it goes down, what do you usually expect? A rejection. And this is just a small failure pattern. So yeah, it was obvious, but this is a loopy / sloppy play. This one would have been harder to play than your average bear, but it's still obvious. Like once you saw this, waves of 3, technically 1, 2, 3. Well, it really only got 2 pushes, but the third one was after. Yeah, the third one was after it. So 1, 2 pushes, expecting a third, because Bitcoin goes in waves of 3, just usually does, on every time frame for whatever reason, and you get your rejection after wave 1 or after wave 2. So yeah, it's a big deal. This line really, really does work, and that's why even the middle one, it wouldn't heat up and do something cool until it's time to go knock on this door of the weekly 10. Like, hey guys, we're ready to send shit into the depths of hell. Like, who's coming with me? I don't know what movie it is. It's a Ben Affleck movie. It's like him busting in and telling his friend, okay, a lot of people are going to get hurt. We're going to steal a lot of things, and I can't have you ask any questions. And he says, okay, whose car are we taking? Like, that's what this is. Like, hey, man, let's go cause some shit. Okay, let's go get it. Like, but it's all about the weekly 10. And it's probably going to happen again. So here, before a big move down, it got rejected, but it got a higher low, then it did a failure pattern. So this was a rejection, failure pattern, boom, messing with the weekly 10. So if, in general, now kind of putting this full circle here. In general, if the origin line is not hit, which is really strange to happen if the origin line causes hesitation in price after a big fall down, as opposed to falling all the way to 12,100 down here immediately. So that's also a common way, but it didn't happen. So because that didn't happen, got hesitation at the origin line, it almost always hits it almost always goes sideways for 15 to 35 days and hits the origin line once or twice. But in the times it doesn't hit the origin line, it does hit the weekly 10. If it were going to just not hit either on its way down, it would have happened immediately. It would have kept going. Like I'm telling you, I'm not guaranteeing anything, obviously, but one of those is going to happen with an extremely high probability. Origin line will be hit way up here, or the weekly 10 later on, and that would be during the monthly backfill. Weekly 10 ain't happening until December. It's just so unlikely for the weekly 10 to be hit before then. But yeah, so those are the 3 price paths and all the reasons why this should make exact sense to you. Now, let me break it down super simply, and then we'll move on to a different coin here. I got too many damn things happening here on the side of the screen. Okay, this is a clean chart right here. So let's get rid of my 14 days. And we'll keep the vertical labels. All right. With exception of the time axis, so this white line here and this white line here labeled. Within a big range for Bitcoin, 25%, there are only, so this is a very important summary, there are only 4 lines that are going to greatly pivot price. where buyers and sellers will be making big choices in waves. There are only 4, and these are them. 1, 2, 3, 4. These lines on the time axis will make a difference too, but we're doing non-fourth dimension. We're keeping it in 3 dimensions right now. These are the only things that are moving price. All right? Just like I proved it with the weekly 10, do you need me to prove it with these? I mean, hell, I could probably, look, you know, a lot of people might say, oh, this was a neckline, and, you know, or like all these head, like, for example, here, you know, this is a head and shoulders, right? But let's go to the 3-minute chart and let's see what's really happening. What's the real line? Huh. It tagged both of them, origin line and this were really close together. The extremely volatile wick down touched, like went between both of them. Then it perfectly hit the origin line, and then it lost the origin line, then is messing with these because these are separating, right? They're diverging. So it had to pick a line. Like price couldn't keep pissing with both for too long because they're diverging. So it decided to, here, let's zoom way in there, watch. Let's make this, let's make it hot pink so we can see it better. See that? 3-minute chart. Origin line, that's been there for years and years. Haven't moved it. This, it hasn't been there. It's been there for months and months. So these lines are real. Okay, then it comes back down. Perfect resistance. Keep moving. Almost perfect resistance. Went back up to the origin line. Bounced on it. Another hot pink line. Then the battle moved to, so this was the battle line for a while. Then the battle got moved where? Here. So it's like saying, hey guys, let's take this fight outside. You know, 2 drunk dudes in a bar being stupid and drunk. Like, oh guys, take it outside. Okay, so, you know, fighting in the bar here. Let's take it outside. Okay, let's take, so this is where the fight was on the origin line, right? So necklines, patterns, what's forming the necklines now? This freaking line that goes back to the 64K top. You can see it on the candles. It's obvious. I'm telling you, this is like the major line in play. It's not some necklines. It's not horizontals. This thing is descending. And it is the battle line where most of the fights are happening. Look, just look. This is where the fights are happening, right? So the bulls essentially are allowing, or the bears are allowing the bulls to run it up in it. But this is where the bears step in. And then if the bulls are strong enough to get it up to this line, well, then they step in here even harder and push it back down. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. That's where the big fights are breaking out. And there are only 4 lines. So that's another reason why you don't need to guess which way price is going. It's just 4 lines, and these are the lines. So remember, I changed these to hot pink. So we have origin line, these 2, that's for 3 total, and then a channel line. To summarize, this channel line, I have it all smashed on this chart, but it is from the macro channel here, back from the 69K top. It's this line here. That's what you're seeing here. It is a real line. Boom, boom, boom. All the resistance, like this is for real. I could prove it to you here too. Like this is a real line. It goes back a year. And then, so the pink lines, I can just zoom out now. Right? I think I've already covered this. Back to the 64K top, it's just the best fit line. I usually don't use lines like this, but that's where the fights are breaking out. So let's zoom back in. And then the bottom of it, that same channel or fat trend line or whatever. 1, 2, 3, 4. And in there, so that's why you don't need to guess and be doing all these weird, funky analysis, because it's going to be obvious. I just showed you that these are like really the lines, and how it behaves on it is going to be obvious. Now, there is one exception, and I'll leave you with this thought. The closer to this line you are, the worse signals you'll get at these 4 lines. That is, if price is very close to this line, right? Either on this direction or this direction, doesn't matter. Like if it's just before or just after, it doesn't matter. If it's super close, the laws of physics are going to break down there. Rules will be broken. It's, like I was just telling my VIPs, it's similar to an event horizon. And it's similar to gravity, that, the effects of gravity quickly, relative to the other 3 fundamental forces of the universe, they quickly dissipate with distance specifically. And the farther away you get from this event horizon, the more like the obviousness that's going to happen. But if you get closer to here, maybe it will, go below this, spike below this green line, failure pattern, rejection pattern, swing down. But instead of coming here, it makes a higher low than goes up because it happens so close to where the laws of physics break down. I would say on each side, there's only, so this week, so if it were actually FOMC, the time would be 2 days on both sides. It would be a 4-day window. But for the minutes, it's probably only a 1-day window on both sides for a total of 2-day window, and we're already almost halfway through it. So, between here to here, through Wednesday, whatever, when the markets close, I would say give it a little bit of space from there, maybe 8 p.m., maybe, I would say when Bitcoin closes at 7 p.m. New York time on Wednesday, that's when the effects of the event horizon are going to lessen. The rules of physics will begin applying. And, if it goes, let's say, if price goes below this support, failure pattern, failure rejection pattern, take out the punch low, that's when it's a good signal. As you're farther away from that line, that should get you 2 whole weeks. I'm telling you. Let's come back to this video if I can't make another one for a while because of the holidays, but this will keep you safe. Unless price deviates from my top and bottom lines, which is possible, but I would say it's close to a 90% chance Bitcoin price will stay between those lines throughout the next 2 weeks. So you have an extremely high probability that those price paths I just showed you will be what plays out, one of those 3, and formatting your brain to the time axis with the event horizon and all that will keep you even safer. So you're not relying on these lines, my 4 lines, when it's close to one of these 2 white lines. Does that make sense? Rely less, trust less, be more defensive, or just don't trade if it's within 24 hours. And yeah, that was Bitcoin for you. Let's move on.